It's a daunting task, isn't it? Trying to narrow down thousands of players from 22 tournaments spanning almost a century to pick the top 10 World Cup legends of all time. To my mind, the top 6 or 7 are pretty obvious, even if their exact order is up for debate. But it's those who fill the remaining spots that I think will spark the biggest conversations. It's tough to leave out someone like Miroslav Klose, for example. Though, for what it's worth, the top goal scorer in World Cup history would land a very close 11th place on my list. There's also no room for Garrincha, that dazzling, bow-legged Brazilian winger, or Roberto Baggio, a true Italian icon, or even France striker Just Fontaine, who netted an incredible 13 goals in the 1958 tournament alone. Some other greats of the game, like Dutch icon Johan Cruyff, Portugal striker Eusebio, and Germany's goal-scoring machine Gerd Müller, also miss out. Maybe a top 20 list would have made this easier? And the collective brilliance of Spain's 2010 winning squad means no single individual from that team made the cut. So, who actually made it? Well, I've picked my top 10 below, the players I feel are most synonymous with the tournament. Feel free to share your own thoughts in the comments. Number 10. Sir Geoff Hurst, England, World Cup winner 1966. We all know the story. Hurst wasn't even supposed to play. England's star striker, Jimmy Greaves, was injured in the group stages but was returning to fitness for the 1966 final against West Germany. The clamor was for Greaves to start at Wembley, but Sir Alf Ramsey stuck with the man who had only made his international debut a few months earlier, and the rest, as they say, is history. West Ham forward Hurst scored a fabulous hat-trick as the Three Lions clinched the game's grandest prize for the only time in their history, and on home soil no less. Hurst was by no means the most talented or iconic player in that team, but you simply cannot discount a hat-trick in the showpiece event. That's a legendary feat, only matched by France's Kylian Mbappé 4 years ago in Qatar, and he was on the losing side. Without Hurst, there would be no "they think it's all over," no 60 years of hurt. Did it cross the line? Number 9. Cafu, Brazil, World Cup winner 1994 and 2002. I'll give Kevin Bridges the assist for this one. If you haven't seen his In Search of the Beautiful Game yet, it's well worth seeking out. The comedian swaps Clydebank for the Copacabana in search of Jogo Bonito and meets the legendary Cafu, the only man to appear in 3 successive World Cup finals. The marauding fullback came off the bench when Brazil triumphed over Italy on penalties at the Rose Bowl in 1994, was a beaten finalist in France 4 years later, and then lifted the trophy as captain in Japan and South Korea in 2002. Cafu is World Cup royalty. Only Klose boasts more than his 16 wins across 4 tournaments. But he's also a legend who never forgot his roots. 100% Jardim Irene, he scribbled on his canary yellow shirt before lifting the trophy in 2002. A message to the Sao Paulo favela where he grew up. Number 8. Paolo Rossi, Italy, World Cup winner 1982. Rossi's World Cup fairy tale began against Brazil in one of the tournament's all-time iconic matches. Sweat-drenched Azzurri blue against the vibrant yellow of the favorites. A classic played out to a backbeat of buzzing horns in Barcelona. Italy's strength was supposed to be their defense, but Rossi proved to be the hat-trick hero, netting twice in the first half and grabbing the winner in the second. Those were also the striker's first Italy goals since returning from a 2-year ban following a match-fixing scandal earlier that year, something he always denied. But they certainly wouldn't be his last. The penalty box predator grabbed both goals in a semi-final win against Poland and then scored the opener as Italy dispatched West Germany 3-1 in the final at the Bernabeu to win their first World Cup since 1938. Rossi's 6 goals earned him the tournament's Golden Boot and Golden Ball awards, as well as the World Player of the Year prize. Number 7. Zinedine Zidane, France, World Cup winner 1998. With chants of Zidane President, the image of Zidane and the message Merci Zizou lit up the Arc de Triomphe as more than 1 million joyous fans crammed onto the Champs-Élysées to celebrate France's World Cup success in 1998. Zidane, a second-generation Algerian immigrant raised in the concrete high-rises of northern Marseille, was the talisman and face of a multicultural Les Bleus team that finally delivered the globe's biggest footballing prize. We realized Zidane was the player who was going to make the difference, France defender Lilian Thuram told me. The majestic midfielder's World Cup legacy is a cocktail of important goals, balletic brilliance, and hot-headed red cards. France's 2006 final defeat by Italy is, of course, remembered for Zidane headbutting Marco Materazzi. But he also missed 2 matches in 1998 after being sent off in the group stages against Saudi Arabia. He returned for the quarterfinal, guiding France past Italy and then Croatia before delivering a masterclass in the final against Brazil, scoring twice, both headers from corners, to spark wild celebrations in Paris. Number 6. Kylian Mbappé, France, World Cup winner 2018. Mbappé's World Cup legend is still being written. At 27, and with potentially 2 or even 3 more tournaments to come, the France superstar could very well be challenging at the top of this list by the time he retires. The striker excelled in Russia as a 19-year-old in 2018. He became France's youngest ever scorer, the first teenager to score twice in a knockout game since Pele in 1958 with his last 16 double against Argentina, and then the first teenager since Pele to score in a final as Les Bleus beat Croatia. Mbappé's career has arguably peaked at World Cups, prolific with Paris Saint-Germain and now Real Madrid, but unable to land a Champions League with either. It's with France on the biggest stage where he has shown the most. His performance against Argentina in the 2022 final alone, scoring a scintillating hat-trick, was worthy of winning the game's biggest prize for a second time. It's just that he was up against Lionel Messi and company. Number 5. Franz Beckenbauer, West Germany, World Cup winner 1974 and 1990 as head coach of Germany. Runner-up in 1966 and third place 4 years later, Franz Beckenbauer finally got his hands on the World Cup in 1974, captaining West Germany to victory over the much-fancied Netherlands. Beckenbauer, the elegant ball-playing defender, led the hosts in thwarting the total football of Cruyff's side, the very style of play that influenced his own game, even after his side fell behind to a second-minute penalty, having not yet touched the ball. That would be his third and final edition as a player, but Der Kaiser returned in the dugout to lead his country to successive finals. West Germany were beaten by Argentina in 1986, but 4 years later, Beckenbauer became the only man to win the World Cup as a player and a manager, when his side earned revenge on La Albiceleste in Italy. Number 4. Lionel Messi, Argentina, World Cup winner 2022. It looked like it might not happen for either of the best players of a generation. Possibly the best of all time. Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo were deep into their 30s without a World Cup triumph between them, and the Argentina icon was staring at an early exit in Qatar after a shock opening defeat by Saudi Arabia. But in his 5th tournament, Messi, having led Argentina to the 2014 final, turned his team's fate on its head. A goal and assist against Mexico followed, before he scored against Australia in the last 16, a penalty in the quarterfinal tie with the Netherlands, and another from the spot against Croatia in the semifinals. Messi was inspired once more in a classic final against France. The diminutive magician scored twice, taking his goal total for the tournament to 7, before converting in the shootout as Argentina clinched their first World Cup since Diego Maradona's heroics in 1986. Number 3. Ronaldo, Brazil, World Cup winner 1994 and 2002. A tale famously of redemption. Like Cafu, striker Ronaldo was in the squad when Brazil won the World Cup in 1994, but, aged just 17, did not make an appearance. 4 years later, he was at his blistering best, an unstoppable blend of pace, skill, and ruthless finishing, heralding him as the best player on the planet. He scored 4 goals as Brazil reached the final, but a seizure before the match and the resulting confusion of whether he would play or not meant the prolific striker looked far from himself as the Seleção were well beaten by France. The years before his next World Cup in 2002 were blighted by a serious knee injury. Ronaldo barely featured for Inter Milan or Brazil, and his inclusion at the tournament was in doubt. But in Japan and South Korea, he was able to rekindle flashes of brilliance, scoring 8 times, including twice in the final against Germany, to banish the painful memories of Paris. Ronaldo took his World Cup total to a then record 15 in the Germany edition 4 years later. Number 2. Diego Maradona, Argentina, World Cup winner 1986. He comes in at number 2 here, but there is no one more box office than Maradona, a statement epitomized by his World Cup summers. Left at home as a tender 17-year-old in 1978, when Argentina beat the Netherlands to win their first World Cup, Maradona's first taste of football's biggest event came 4 years later, when the flamboyant forward was sent off for retaliating as the holders crashed out in a bruising encounter with Brazil. Maradona's defining summer would come in Mexico in 1986. What is arguably the best individual tournament in history is remembered most vividly for his 2 goals against England in the quarterfinal. The first was the infamous hand of God moment. The second, an act of pure genius, a daring dribble from his own half leaving England players velcroed to the Azteca turf before grounding and rounding goalkeeper Peter Shilton. He scored twice again in the semi-final against Belgium, before captaining Argentina to victory over West Germany in the final, finishing the tournament with 5 goals and as many assists. A tearful Maradona's Argentina side were beaten finalists in 1990, and 4 years later, El Pibe de Oro, the Golden Boy, ended his World Cup with the typical drama and scandal that seemed to hang on to him like a shadow, sent home after testing positive for banned substances in the group stages. Number 1. Pele, Brazil. World Cup winner 1958, 1962, and 1970. Who else but the great Pele, the only man to win 3 World Cups, all in different decades, and, for generations, the most iconic name in the sport. Having famously told his father he would win him the World Cup after Brazil's shock defeat by Uruguay at the Maracanã in 1950, Pele was only 17 when he burst into the footballing world's consciousness in 1958 with a semi-final hat trick against France and 2 more in the final success over Sweden. He was part of the Brazil squad that retained the trophy 4 years later, but missed most of the tournament through injury after scoring in the opening game, only later receiving a winner's medal. In 1966, as the world's greatest player, he was on the end of such rough treatment he vowed never to play in the tournament again. Come 1970, though, Pele was back. Carrying the weight of his nation in Mexico, the forward was at his skillful, creative, innovative best, dazzling in yellow as the Seleção reached the final in style and then thrashed Italy 4-1 in the showpiece, Pele scoring the first and setting up 2 others. Pele, of course, is the most legendary World Cup star of all time. Pele played at 4 World Cups, winning 3 and scoring 12 goals in 14 games.